Welcome to Deep Thought. Holistic eating. You know what? I had a gentleman. I ended up having to block him because he was kind of annoying. Because on my Instagram, I shared a meal I had from Cajun place, well, a Creole place that's near me. And you know, this young man was like, "Oh, you should go vegan." I'm like, for what? And he did something annoying on another platform of mine. I just blocked him every time I see his name. But I was thinking about that. You have some people out here, they'll try to tell, they've adopted a certain way of eating, and they try to tell every single person this is how they need to do, right? And I wouldn't have thought about doing this, but I was having a conversation with a gentleman who's a Ifa initiate. And anybody's familiar with Ifa, I mean, everybody gets a reading. They find out which deity has their head. And each person individually will have a certain set of prohibitions and stuff they can do, can't do. But as an individual, it's not a group thing. Because one thing in that system, in a truly holistic system, like I was told Chinese medicine does this and Ayurveda does this. And I'm not as familiar with those systems, and usually I don't like talking about something I'm not have total familiarity with, but I trust the word of the person who told me. And he was saying, the thing is, different body types have different needs. In fact, that's something even in Western science. There was a book I read years ago, like eating for your blood type. There's certain blood types that should be more vegetarian or vegan, and then some blood types they can eat barbecue, whatever. And the reason why, because in holistic, you have to eat for what's right for your body. Now, I mentioned the Ifa devotee, right? And he had said this is a person who was very strict about being vegan, but then he got a reading, and it was said, hey, you can introduce a little bit of meat to your diet. And the meat was important for his incarnation objective. It needed to bring up a certain amount of fire. But also, too, with different foods, they bring different chemicals for us. And the thing is, every single person, a smart business, let me throw in my business hat for a second, would be the type of nutritionist who can actually, or a holistic healer, who can actually look at someone's, look at their constitution, be able to do a reading on them, say, okay, you need to eat this food, not this food. You need to leave this alone for a few days, something like that. Because the thing is, one of the mistakes people make is they'll adopt a diet because of a fad, or they think they should, but they don't necessarily need it. Now, this don't mean everybody should go rush out and say, hey, I can go ahead and eat meat. What I'm saying is you need to find out what's good for your body. Certain things you can eat. Like, I know you get certain groups who don't eat shellfish or anything like that because they're scavengers. And I understand that. But some people can eat it without any problems. And then I know other people, like my son, he's never had shellfish in his life because he has an allergy to it. He's never had shrimp or crab or anything like he can't eat it. He will check something. He can go, if he sees something, it could look like a nice salad. He look at it, it's like, oh, shrimp, no. But that's him. Whereas the other son can throw it down if he need to. But that's because of the holistic thing. And that's very important when you talk about holistic medicine and stuff like that, or even weight loss. Everybody can't do the same thing for weight loss or anything. Something like, and also too, it depends on one's mission in life. Some people, because different foods bring certain energy. Now, I had mentioned earlier that I can I was eating at a Creole restaurant. Now, I actually feel better when I have something spicy. I can't eat bland. I can eat bland food, but I'm more energetic when I have spicy stuff, even to the point my bowels even move better. But the next person might not be able to do that. Because one thing that any holistic discipline would take in consideration is not just you, but maybe your DNA, your bloodline. You know, it's like on my father's side, they were eating all that gumbo and everything, and that gumbo, red beans and rice and all of that. But also, it was let's just say the yang energy was a little bit stronger on that side, a little bit out of control in my opinion. I got a lot of cousins out there, so it brought up the man. And in fact, for men in general, now this is in general, this is why sometimes people got to think about what they're eating. And because you get some men who, they'll become vegan or something, but they don't eat anything spicy or hot. And maybe if their personal constitution calls for that, that's okay. But sometimes one thing, when men need to bring up their energy, it's actually good to eat some hotter foods. It actually brings up yang energy, masculine energy. And at the same time, for women, sometimes in general, women have to look at the type of what they're eating. There's a lot of women who might have trouble getting pregnant because maybe the foods they eat are too hot and dry. Maybe they need to eat more cold and wet. Of course, this isn't is an extremely general statement. They still probably need to have some type of healer or something to say, okay, this is what you need to eat. In fact, that's usually in the case because, the eating might also include some type of prohibition against certain activities. Because the energy, okay, for example, there are some traditions, particularly in ATR, African traditional religion, they might have a woman do a ritual with Oshun. Now, Oshun, that's the energy, or for those who practice the deity, that deals with, pleasure. That's that hot sister. That's that sister got she wearing those sexy clothes. She got that peaceful, sweet nature. Got that honey, and like a man, and with those energies, anybody would understand that you got a masculine side and a feminine side. Like a man who has Oshun energy, those are sharp dressing pretty boys, those sharp dressing pretty boys. They're not, somebody might think, oh, maybe they're gay, but no, it manifests differently in the person. And that's another thing too. The eating, any type of eating has to be in line with your activity. Any type of dining, the food you ingest. If you live a very rigorous lifestyle, you're going to need foods to support it. And that's whether it's, and it's not automatically meat, just to be clear. It could be just a vegan diet or a vegetarian. Some people can eat fish. They need to have a certain amount of fish in their diet. It depends, because what has to be looked at ultimately is the what kind of minerals and nutrients and minerals a particular food is bringing. Whatever the case, though, you have one issue that's going to be a bigger issue is the use of genetically modified fruits and vegetables, and even stuff that animals might ingest. That's going to be a big issue because it's going to start changing some bodies. Now, you already have a few people who are more in the holistic communities who claim soy is, they've gone as far as saying soy causes homosexuality. Actually, the most it would do, because that's a more complicated thing anyway, but the most it would do is cause a man to be more yin in nature because of the effect soy has on in a man on estrogen-like substances, or estrogen-like hormones and stuff. Estrogen-like. Notice I said like, because that's another thing to understand. about that. And I would just say it's whatever the case, the individual, if they don't want to go to a holistic healer, is really pay attention to the effect any type of food has on their body. And how does that correlate to what they're trying to do? Some people might need to be more yin because of their job. Like you want a surgeon who's yin. You actually want a surgeon who's yin. You know, you want, because they're going to be calmer. You want an airline pilot who's a little bit more yin, because when turbulence hits, you need somebody who can be calmer. But then for a soldier, police officer, fireman, they probably need to be more yang. So you have to take everything in consideration, the activities, how the food affects you, even like eating at certain times. Because I try to follow a certain cycle. There's certain times of the year that I'm all vegan. I don't touch any meat certain times of the year. And then there's certain times of the year, I'll kill those ribs. And, you know, boom. But it depends on what's going on, time of the year, and some deeper stuff I won't get into here about it. It's a personal cycle that I follow. And it's very accurate. So certain times of the year, my energy needs to be up, and certain times it needs to be chilled out. So anyway, that's all I got for today. Something to think about. Peace and blessings.